Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and we are doing our annual bye-week round table. We sit at a table, and it's round. And this year, we are welcoming on of the NYG Weekly podcast. I always call it the NYG Daily on accident, but I made sure to call it the NYG Weekly.
I still do that. Yeah.
Weiss at NYG Daily, Ethan at Ethan GSN of the Gotham Sports Network. I've been doing their podcast for a long time. I'll be honest, I didn't like them at first, and I left a 1-star review, but I changed it to a 5-star.
Oh, nice.
What's going on, fellas? Welcome to the Talking Giants program.
What's up, Skinner?
Yeah, I believe it was Bobby calling me a Barstool Big Cat wannabe on Twitter was the genesis of our beef.
We had never interacted, and
Yes.
I was like, let's just kind of stay in your lane, and then I don't like Kim Jones.
Oh, I know.
And it started with that, and then so I was like, all right, let me clap back. I can't even remember what I said after that as a wannabe.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And I was brand new to social media. Now I really don't take Twitter seriously. It's like I will give
Smart.
you.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk about the Giants and make some jokes. And if my jokes I think might cross a line, I send them to Justin first and ask him, will this get me in too much trouble?
Right.
And sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. What's going on, fellas? How are you guys doing?
Good. Happy to be here and continue on from.
I'm very upset that you cut your hair.
See, here's the thing: is that's why I didn't cut it for so long, because I was like, it's like I'm on camera and people like it. It's I hate to use the word brand, but like it does kind of have some branding. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this the rest of my life. I'm not going to be a long hair guy the rest of my life. I'm just going to cut it now. Like it really does suck to manage. Like I don't know how women do it their entire life. And they make theirs look way better than mine did. Mine was really like scruffy and looked disgusting. 12 out of the 24 hours in a day. So we were just on their show. So once you get done with this one, click off, go listen to NYG Weekly.
Yes.
We talked about, just the Giants organization as a whole and the coaching staff and different scenarios. This one we're going to talk about Daniel Jones. And then I think we're going to talk about Leonard Williams too. Just because it's like, hey, let's
just
fight.
Perked up so fast.
Let's fight about something. So we're going to start with Daniel Jones. I'm going to kick it to you, Weiss.
Yes.
Where are you at with Daniel Jones? Not like what did you think about in the draft? Like we are at
right now.
After 9 games of 2020, what are your big picture thoughts on Daniel Jones going forward? Not just whether you'd bring him back next year or not.
I don't know what to think about Daniel Jones. I'm being brutally honest with you. On Thursday, November 11th at 3:13 p.m. I don't know what to think about Daniel Jones. He does things that I really, really like. He does some things that I really don't like. But it's tough for me to really get a good understanding of what Daniel Jones is, because he hasn't shown enough and the Giants haven't helped him at all. And I think that obviously with the quarterback, not every quarterback is going to be in a perfect situation. And I understand that. And you can still sort of understand where you are from a quarterback perspective. What I do know, or I think I know right now with Daniel Jones, is that he's not somebody that's going to make people around him better. I think he's a product of his environment, and that's okay. The problem is that where the Giants are, they haven't done a good job in terms of building around him. And I think it starts with some of the coaching decisions that they've made with the offensive coordinator. And then also from a talent level, I think they did a good job loading him up with weapons, but the offensive line has been, is beating a dead horse. So I don't know where I am with Daniel Jones. I think that looking at the situation in terms of the draft and free agency, obviously I'm leaning toward you have to keep him around. But I always ask the question to people, if you think Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback, that means you're ready to pay Daniel Jones like a franchise quarterback. So are you ready to pay Daniel Jones as a franchise quarterback? My answer right now is no. And because that answer is no, you have to look at all aspects of the quarterback situation around the NFL. You can look at free agency. You can look at the draft. So obviously, if the Giants go toward the draft or if they move on from Daniel Jones, based on what we've seen so far, I understand it. If they stick to Daniel Jones, I also understand it. But for me, I just don't know where I am with Daniel Jones right now.
Right, and something I said is like you can't feel great about Daniel Jones until it's great. Like you can feel good about him, but that's where I'll kick it to Ethan. Just the 2021 season, year 3 is a big year. Like I came into this year being like, I'm ready to move off Daniel Jones if it doesn't happen. Where do you view, like after 9 games, his 2021 season, Ethan?
Well, Ethan, it's Dan Jones, right? Not Daniel.
Danny Dimes, please refer to him as that and buy a T-shirt on JohnBoyMedia.com shop or whatever.
There you go. Line Bobby's pockets. He's Dan Jones again. He's got to re-earn Daniel. Listen, I don't disagree with most of what Weiss said. I think it's very obvious that they have a defense good enough to keep them in games, and that's obviously going to be helpful for a quarterback. They have a number of offensive weapons that should be there to help the quarterback. The offensive line, they obviously haven't done enough. The coaching staff, they obviously haven't done enough. Last week, Weiss and I did an exercise on the podcast for those who listened. And what we did was we went around the league and we listed every single team and their current starting quarterback option. And using context, we made a decision. Would that team stick with their current option, or if given the opportunity, would they take Daniel Jones over their current option? And there were 1 or 2 very generous, like, oh, they'll take Daniel Jones over their current option. And I think we arrived at the conclusion that 2/3 of the league would rather have their current option than Daniel Jones. Using context. That's not to say that, like what was the one of the first examples we used, Weiss? Like the Dolphins.
I think it was,
Dolphins. Like would the Dolphins take Tua or Dan Jones? In a vacuum, they would probably take Dan Jones, but the context is that Deshaun Watson really wants to be a Miami Dolphin. They have the draft capital, and that's probably going to happen at some point over the next year, right? So, like, using some veterans who are on contracts, I think one that we gave was like the Steelers. Like, would the Steelers take Daniel Jones or Ben Roethlisberger? Like, given Roethlisberger's current production and his age and his contract, they would probably take Dan Jones. But point being, you see quarterbacks with bad teams and bad coaching situations every single season. And that's not to say that the quarterback needs to elevate the play of everyone around them and the coaching staff and just like automatically go like 10-6. But there has to be just consistent flashes. But point being, like, despite the things that are bad around him, there are some good things around him. And we just haven't seen like a consistent flash or enough where I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's fucking pay this guy and let's do the damn thing over the next 10 years. Like, I just think that when you're considering the quarterback situation, and I'm a guy who wanted Josh Rosen in 2018, right? I think the biggest thing, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think the biggest thing that I learned about the quarterback position from that draft moving forward is that it's all about upside. Like, you don't want to draft a guy who're like, oh, like he's just like this big white guy who's going to have a big arm and he's going to be safe. Like, you want to draft for like the athleticism, that freakish nature, the big arm, and you're going to be able to coach that guy up, and he's going to have a ceiling like Josh Allen, or he's going to have a ceiling like Deshaun Watson, or he's going to have a ceiling like some of these top guys in the league. And maybe if he's given another few years, he can achieve that. But like, you just can't say definitively based on what we've seen that he is the guy and that he's capable of that. I just don't think that you can say that. Like, you can like some of the things that he's done, right? Like, you can like that he, on deep throws, he's, not terrible and he can use his legs and this, that, and the other thing. Like, again, like, I just don't see that consistently enough. And I'm not asking him to carry the Giants into the playoffs or to go 10-6, but like, there's got to be something. There's got to be something more.
Yeah. And like Weiss said, you're up against the clock, right? Where, if you had to pay him tomorrow,
and that's not his fault,
right? And but it's overall, it's the way that the NFL is structured, and that's something that you guys talked about years ago. You guys have been talking about that for years on your show about, when John, I don't know who it was. I think Dave Gettleman was asked a couple years ago, the window theory. He's like, I don't believe in the window theory. And I get why he has to say that, but at the same time, I think you have to as an organization, because of the way the NFL is structured. You see so many teams are successful with those quarterbacks that are on those rookie deals, or even some teams that maybe they've extended their guys, but they're still relatively early in their long-term deals that they can have the rest of their roster built up where, you look at Russell Wilson, right? After Russell Wilson was paid, the roster took a decline. The coaches are, they've been bad for a long time too. And they've been stuck in that territory of being a playoff team, but not making that push like they did early in Russell Wilson's career. So that's an example of that, window theory being in effect there. Jared Goff, same thing. That team made the Super Bowl with a really, really good roster before they had to give Jared Goff the big money, and then they chose to move on. So you guys have been talking about that for years, whether it is Daniel Jones's fault, whether he is the quote-unquote guy or not, whether it's Garrett, the line, Gettleman, whatever. We're at a point, or especially if you're going to pick up that fifth-year option, one-year deal's not that big of a deal of $20-something million. But after that, it's like, well, if you're not it, we kind of have to look elsewhere just because of from a value standpoint.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the quarterback next year.
Yeah,
I think absolutely. Going into this year, I was ready to move off if it looked like it did in 2020. Not to say if somehow they were able to add like a Rodgers or something, but that's not real life, so it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Thanks to our cap. So
yes, thanks to Kevin Abrams.
The timeline is definitely is definitely the biggest thing going up against Daniel Jones right now. But I also I was getting ready to move on to that mindset, Ethan, of drafting just guys for upside. Like Malik Willis. I look at him, he's got a ton of flaws, but it's the upside gets me. But I also am you know what? I don't want to let Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray change the way I view every single quarterback. And I think that's a guy like Zach Wilson. I was starting to like him for those reasons, but it's what, now that you look at it, I think you do have to get the right guy. And I don't want to throw away a Dak Prescott, a Ben Roethlisberger type players because I want to have a Patrick Mahomes arm, or it looks cool when you throw, you have one highlight, sidearm throw, every other game. But what I will push it back about is the Daniel Jones elevating, because we saw at the beginning of this year, he had a bad offensive coordinator in Jason Garrett, and I think that's the second most important position in football after quarterback is offensive coordinator or play caller, more so than head coach. He had a bad offensive line, but a good left tackle. So I'll count that as half. A good wide receiver core. If you have a trio of Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, and Sterling Shepard, you have two of those guys on the field. That's a good wide receiver core. Not the best of the league, but good. And then a horrible running game. So when he had 1.5 of the 4 outside aspects, he was balling. After 4 weeks of this season, I know the Giants' record didn't stand for it, but it's he balled versus Washington. The Saints game, he balled. The Falcons and Denver game, they weren't baller games, but all right, they're those middle tier games. So through that 4 games, it's okay, we're starting to see the stuff with Daniel Jones, see the flash from rookie year. And again, that was overcoming a bad offensive coordinator. The Darius Slayton touchdown in Washington was an audible from all curls. It was the first time they ever confirmed to us that he audibled. And you look at the other 3 routes on the play, they're all curls. The worst offensive coordinator in football, and Dan Orlovsky, who's Dan Orlovsky doesn't love Daniel Jones, but he's someone who I've grown to respect as an analyst. Talks about this is the worst offensive system in football. And it's not an over exaggeration to say that the running game, besides this Raiders week, which we played the worst one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, was the only time the running game was even close to efficient. Forget good, just middling. Saquon was averaging 3.4 yards per carry. Devontae Booker 3.2 yards per carry. That's pathetic. The only reason they weren't last in the league is because Daniel Jones was third for QBs in rushing. So when he had a bad offensive line, one of my biggest critiques of him after his rookie year, fumbles obviously are there, but it's pocket manipulation. How do you work in the pocket? When he had just a good left tackle and a bad left guard, a bad center, a bad right guard, a bad right tackle, it's Mike, he's working the pocket well. It's just when he had first 8 games of Andrew Thomas and Nate Solder at left tackle, that's when it was really bad, when he didn't have the blind side. And that wasn't even just bad left tackle play. That was horrible left tackle play. So it's when he had 1.5 of the 4, a good wide receiver core and then a good left tackle, he was good. And then you look at his rookie year where he had half of the 4. Or one of the 4, a decent offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur. I don't think Pat Shurmur was anything great, but I thought he was a decent offensive coordinator. At least played to his strengths and believed in him. And that's what makes me so mad about Jason Garrett sometimes. I don't even know if you believe in Daniel Jones. And it's a shame you took that job, even if you didn't. Even if you personally don't, if you guys don't believe in Daniel Jones, it's a shame that you took that job if you didn't believe in him. But maybe he does, and I'm over-exaggerating. That's what's when he had one of the half of the 4, he looked good. But even in the past 3 games, the past 4 games without Andrew Thomas, the Rams game was horrible. The Panthers game was good. The Chiefs game, the one interception.
Panthers game was great. That was great.
Yeah, okay, but it wasn't like top of his game. Like I don't put that in his top 5 games of all time though.
Oh, I put it. It's in the top 3, I think.
It was good. It was a
great performance.
It was a great performance, but it like wasn't in like top 5 performance of DJ.
What game is this?
The Panthers game. Like I put it on the third one this year.
No, because I mean, here's the thing about the Panthers game, and also you have to look at the quarterback position too. You know, we just talked for however long we were on the NYG weekly show too, and we talked about scoring points. You know, that's still a game where I look at the quarterback from a value position, from how EPA and how much is he actually doing to produce the big plays, and if we want Daniel Jones to be more than a game manager, then I don't think we can call the Carolina Panthers game one of the best games of his career. Does that make sense?
If he doesn't have that catch, we're not saying that. I feel like that catch was just a cool ass moment with a cool picture.
It's a very cool moment. Yeah.
I think you have to factor in what was around him and who the Panthers are. A good defense that he was going up against.
Yeah.
And maybe he managed the game, but I thought he made winning plays. And I know that game was a blowout. But I thought what I saw from him in that game was like, wow, this guy is like, he's really, the stats don't show it, but he's making winning plays, whether it's evading the rush, whether it's, making that catch. He's making plays where it's like, okay, that's pretty impressive given what we're seeing around him. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So that's why I hold that performance in high regard, in my opinion.
All right, before we get back to talking about Daniel Jones with the guys from NYG Weekly, we got to talk about a new sponsor, Bespoke Post. This fall, as you get back into the swing of things, Bespoke Post is here with the new seasonal lineup of must-have Box of Awesome collections. Bespoke Post, they partner with small businesses and emerging brands to bring you the most unique goods every single month. And something that I just ordered from the Box of Awesome is called Peak. Kind of simple, but really, really effective. It is kind of an undershirt that is a long sleeve undershirt that goes underneath my sweatshirt or my jackets that I can wear to Giants games. And then it's also like the long underwear, right? That goes from your hip all the way to your ankles. And I could put my socks right under it. And then I put my jeans over it. And maybe I could put another snow pants if it gets really, really cold, right? So Peak is going to have me ready to tackle these cold weather games at MetLife Stadium. They also have a really nice puff jacket, but there's so much more. I mean, there's products from the Box of Awesome that addresses cooking, hunting, drinking, different kinds of liquor, wine, beer, tailgating, fashion. The Weekender bag is something that I'm looking at kind of fashion-wise. Maybe want to step up my game. Has kind of like the leather handles on that Weekender bag. Can be something that I can have as a carry-on throughout the airport. If I want to retire, like my more athletic bags that make me look like I'm a teenager, I'm a grown man. I got to step up my fashion game. So to get started, I want you to go up to boxofawesome.com. Your answers will help pick the right Box of Awesome for you. If you're a hunter, they're going to give you hunting products. And there's an entire box of like hatchets and whole bunch of stuff, different stuff for hunting if you're a hunter, if you're a fashion guy, or if you like to cook. Bespoke Post is going to come in clutch for you. Plus, with each Box of Awesome, you're supporting small businesses. 90% of everything that comes in your Box of Awesome is from a small up-and-coming brand, and each box, it costs only $45, but has over $70 worth of gear inside. That's pretty good value. Free to sign up, and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. So I want you to get 20% off your first month when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code GIANTS at checkout. boxofawesome.com, code GIANTS, 20% off your first box. Thank you to Bespoke Post for sponsoring this show. Let's get back to it with the guys from NYG Weekly. So here's a question that I have about Jones, just kind of maybe in general.
Yeah.
So what is one thing, because I feel like sometimes, maybe you can give your opinion on this too, sometimes I feel like he is a victim of draft day talking points and draft day bias, especially maybe from some national people. So what is one of the things, maybe two of the things that you like the most about Daniel Jones? What is the thing that you dislike the most? Like every time that he does it, it's like, God damn, this is why I don't believe in this guy.
I mean, number one, I feel like again, I'm not going to speak for everyone. The obvious answer for what you do like about him is his legs. Like, do we all agree?
I really like the way he throws the ball down the field.
Me too. And that was something, rookie year, he wasn't like top of the league, but like if you ask me like what do you think like he can be elite at, it's that. And then last year he was like the most efficient. And then this year it's I think this year he's completing like 40%. But his QB rating sucks though, because the two stupid ass interceptions, a Hail Mary and then the Shepard slip. So the QB rating's bad. But like he was completing 50%, and 50% deep passing completion is insane. Like it's like you don't see guys do that 2 years in a row. You'll see like the top 3 guys of the league will have that every year, but like they don't do it in back-to-back years. And I guess Daniel Jones isn't doing it back to years, but like through that Rams game, he was doing 50%. It's like we take for granted that like every time this guy throws, there's a 50% chance of it being completed downfield. The issue is they don't do it enough. So that would be my answer is that.
But in defense of Ethan, the weeks in which Daniel Jones is in the top 10, and especially when he's in the top 5, there was a few times where he was top 5 in EPA amongst quarterbacks. It's the games in which he was incorporating his legs and providing value, which that's something that we talked about over the offseason, is Daniel Jones's path to becoming an average to middling, a little bit below average quarterback. And I'm talking, again, from value, scoring points, and putting up a performance-wise. The path to Daniel Jones becoming an above-average quarterback is when he is integrating his legs as well as throwing the ball deep down the field. So I will agree with Ethan in that case, where I would say the deep ball and putting touch on a ball, that is the thing that I like most about Daniel Jones. But utilizing his legs is definitely top 3 for me.
But I think that's like the case for almost every QB in the league now. Unless you're like a Brady type. But I also think like overall accuracy. I think we don't watch other QBs, and this goes both ways for when you're a fan of a team. Like you don't see what a good pass rusher looks like. So we're hyping up Azeez Ojulari as the best thing ever when he's just good right now. And then the other way where it's like you don't see the bad plays. Like so I watched a lot of Kenny Galladay stuff in the offseason, and Matt Stafford definitely deserves a lot of love. But watching him, I was like, this guy misses a lot. He makes some dumbass decisions. So I think overall accuracy, it's like you don't really see Daniel Jones just miss guys, and you would be surprised how many QBs, and even really good QBs, is just miss guys 4 or 5 times a game.
The funny thing is, when I used to watch Eli Manning a lot towards the back end of his career, you would see a lot of times he was missing guys. When you go back and watch Daniel Jones, especially in the last 2 years, he's not missing guys. There's not guys that are open. You're like, how does he not hit that guy? I think another thing is when people say, the reason why I put so much stock in his deep ball is his receivers collectively have not been getting enough separation, especially his first 2 years in the league. But he was still putting that ball in an area where they could go get it. And I think that's why I put that deep ball accuracy. It's so impressive to me.
I don't think we've had a Kenny Galladay over 20 air yards catch yet.
No.
Isn't that insane? Shouldn't that, you want to talk about, shouldn't that just be look at the offensive coordinator? And that's why, this past game, the Raiders game, when people were talking about the offensive line as an excuse, it's bull crap. You don't need to be a good offensive coordinator or have a really good, have an adequate offensive line to get one-on-one shots on the sideline with Galladay. And maybe that's a criticism of Jones that, they're not audibling into that the way he did audible into that stuff was if there was.
That was something that I asked you, Bobby, when we were
and
DMing
it's so tough to talk about
ago.
Without being in the building, and that's why I don't
100%.
talk about it much, because the times where we have basically the only times where it's that's a clear-cut audible to DJ is when it's you see it's been with Darius Slayton, they got press coverage, outside release fade, and then you see everyone else is running curls and stuff, and sometimes they've answered in the media too, this was an audible, so it's okay, that's what we can say, but it's just that's what's why did you sign Kenny Galladay? I love the Kenny Galladay signing. Why did you sign Kenny Galladay and not think you're going to give him some contested catches? Because we saw David Blau, have Kenny Galladay put up 80 yards. But right now, Kenny Galladay, I think is leading, it's his highest catch rate in his NFL career.
Yes.
But it's do we feel like he's being used effectively? No. It was he's having his highest catch rate, but it's we don't want him to be at a 69-70% catch rate. I want him at 59-60, but averaging 19 yards per catch, even though he is averaging, but essentially getting those one-on-one plays in the red zone, and they're just not doing that at all.
Yeah.
So let's go to the other side. What do you least like about Daniel Jones?
I mean, the turnovers are a big thing. He's cut the turnovers down. I think it's more so.
It's a tough question because the turnovers is one of those things that I feel it's an easy talking point, and that's why
I think you could just say fumbles in general and not turnovers, because saying turnovers as a talking point right now I don't think is fair, because you look at it through the last 17 games now, he has 3 interceptions that were of his doing. 2 versus the Rams and then 1 versus Kansas City. And but the fumbles in general, like even if you look at his rookie year, like interceptions weren't a huge issue. Like he had 3 versus New England, 3 versus Green Bay with the bad ankle, but like he didn't have a ton of interceptions. It was just he fumbled like no QB has ever fumbled before. So I think you could say just fumbles specifically, not necessarily just turnovers, but fumble specifically, which I hate. I wish he had a different flaw because like how do you analyze fumbles? Like I feel like it's just like whatever movie scene was like stop. Just stop it. Like I don't know how to analyze a guy fumbling the ball.
Well, you look at the one against the Raiders, right? I put that on Daniel Jones. Like I understand it was from your blind side, but you got to hold that ball.
Yeah.
Now the one against Denver, and me and Bobby, we talked about this, right? Like the one against Denver, it was a killer turnover, but he did everything right. Like he tucked the ball away as he was going down, but he just fumbled. Like he did. Like fundamentally, when you teach a player not to fumble, that's what you tell him to do. But he still fumbled. The one against the Raiders, I just felt like he did the exact opposite, and it cost him.
Yeah, and he's cut his fumble rate in half. The issue is that half is still like top 10 in the league as far as like QB's fumble. Like you look at the QB because I did it after his rookie year. I looked at like the fumble leaders every year. There's usually some of the best QBs in the league. So it's just like I actually went and looked at like carries times sacks, like divided by fumbles. I didn't explain that right, but essentially did that, and I was like, he's cut his fumbles down in half. But like his rookie season I not exaggerating when it was a historic rate at the amount that he fumbled. So I think fumbles specifically would be mine.
I'm with you.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's the thing. There's there's nothing that like this offense is so boring. Like
that's why I hate Jason Garrett more than anyone in the organization.
I was good, Bobby. I had 911 on ready for your rant during the podcast. I could feel the blood pressure rising through the headset. But yeah, it's like turnovers earlier in his career, but like for me, like the infuriating thing is just like lack of me being able to point out something that he's done like exceptionally well, where it's like, oh, he's top 5 in the league.
That's
that's
fair.
Yeah,
that's really fair.
It's like my dislike is the lack of things that I like.
Okay, well, so we were talking about like how like you have going with QBs going forward. What do you think DJ's ceiling is? Like a realistic ceiling? Like his ceiling is Peyton Manning, but that's not realistic. Like
no, I think like if things are really good all around him, like he can maybe put up a few seasons where you could rank him between 10 and 15, but like realistically, I think he's probably just a league average guy.
Do you think me saying Dak as a ceiling is wrong?
That is what I was about to say. Oh my God, Bobby. Holy cow.
Wow, look at this.
Wow. This is some
me and Weiss agree on a lot more than people realize.
Did you guys see Dak Prescott without Tyron Smith last week?
Well, he also had the calf issue and he was out for a few weeks. I don't think
Stop making excuses for these quarterbacks.
I'm just saying.
It's like, listen, come on. Like the guy's been fucking balling all
I didn't
season,
watch it all.
And you're gonna like point out the one bad game he has.
No, but you look at it like, and that's why another thing. And I know this, we're not doing the Jason Garrett thing, but it's like, when people say, well, this QB needs everything perfect around him. You know who had everything perfect around them for a long time? Jason fucking Garrett. He had everything. He had good quarterbacks in Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. He had best running backs in the league in Zeke and DeMarco Murray. The top offensive line in the league. Weapons galore. He loves that Y stick. He had the tight end, the only tight end in the NFL whose like entire life revolved around Y stick and Jason Witten. The guy's gonna be a Hall of Famer. Because of Y stick. He had everything around it and just constantly
Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, Jason Garrett coaches the Giants like he thinks he's coaching the 2014 Cowboys. Like,
but even then that was bad because when they played better competition, they lost. Like, look at
of course no one's saying that that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's where his mind is.
Yeah, I know. And Garrett wasn't play calling for since like 2012. It's like his guys.
But neither is Joe Judge. It's if the guy on your staff is calling plays, you are to be held accountable for that game plan.
Agreed, but like you look at the 2019 Dallas Cowboys and their offense, really good, like top of the league. But go look at Dak, and that was an extremely talented roster. Go look at Dak's splits between playoff teams and non-playoff teams. I don't think a QB's ever put a season together where it was that different. Like versus playoff teams, he was a bad quarterback. Like more interceptions than touchdowns. And then versus non-playoff teams like the Miami Dolphins and the New York Giants that year, it was like historic MVP rate. And that's why I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm just ranting about all the things I hate about Jason Garrett.
Sure. But no, I see your point. Like, yeah, at his peak, could I see him being like a Dak Prescott type of quarterback? Absolutely.
You're not going to see like the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen throws, but you see special throws. Like that 20, and I go to 2019 because that was the last chance where he was encouraged to make those special type throws. The Eagles game, that one to Golden Tate, like that's a special type throw. That one versus the Bears on 4th down where his offensive line just, just fell in and he's off his back foot, throws it and finds Golden Tate was like the receiver for all of these, by the way.
Yeah, the Vikings with Darius Slayton. So here's
there's
a
so
point.
Many like that year, you could leave that year saying there's flaws about Daniel Jones, his pocket manipulation, the turnovers, but it's like he's so damn exciting. And I think to Ethan's point, like right now, it's like it's not exciting right now, except for these spot games where they have like the Saints, the Washington games. All right, shut up for a second, soy boys, football fans. Who's ready to score some free bets? We all like free stuff, right? Now you can do so when you bet on any NFL game this week with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers who bet just $1 on one team to score can win $100 in free bets. When a team scores, you score. Most times I tell you to, bet on the Giants, but I won't even bet on them. I wouldn't wait till Monday Night Football because you got to do this on Sunday. Hell, I get it done on Thursday Night Football. If a sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars and dollars. More dollars than dollars. If you have if you win a million, you got dollars, not dollars, and total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY. Bet $1 on either team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code JOHNBOY this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9 with it.
We talked about Kenny Golladay a couple minutes ago, and you brought up so many of Daniel Jones's throws, even in 2020, like the Bucks game, right? So many of Daniel Jones's best throws. The Patriots game, where Thursday Night Football, it was a bad game for Daniel Jones, but it was an incredible throw. And then Golden Tate gets no separation. But
Golden Tate was went from the Yak King to the contested catch king.
Why has Golden
Don't
Tate
get me started
gotten
on Golden Tate.
Why is
We're mentioning
Golden
Tate way too much for my liking.
Yeah.
Why is Golden
We're talking
Tate
about all the special DJ
hold
throws,
on.
and he was the receiver at all of them.
Why has Golden Tate gotten so many contested catch opportunities and Kenny Galladay's gotten 0, but we signed him $72 million? That's one of my more like boom, mind blown
Totally
moments like this year.
befuddled.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So Ethan, I know you're on a time. How much time do you got left, Ethan?
I can give you another 10.
You know what? That's perfect to talk about Leonard
Justin,
Williams.
you decide what you want to talk about, because you said Leonard Williams, but I know, Weiss, you were talking about USC Leonard Williams last year. Like, let's fight about something. I don't know.
Okay. What do you want to fight
Justin,
about?
decide what do you guys want to talk about for the last 10 minutes?
So I know Ethan feels some kind of way about Leonard Williams, but I have a feeling that Ethan's just like, Justin, screw you. I don't even want to fight you about this because we've talked about it so much, and but also.
I also appreciated that ride home from MetLife the other day, and I don't want to burn that bridge. So.
Oh no! Yeah, that is true. And so Ethan was tired from a long day, and so I'm driving Ethan home, and I'm just talking because I'm getting like mentally prepared for the podcast that we record. So sometimes I'll call snacks and I'll just rant, and I'll try to plan out talking points because that's like my prep as I drive home. Neither here nor there. Weiss, you also feel some sort of way about Dexter Lawrence, and I have a feeling. So here, let's go around.
I don't think anyone feels great about Dexter Lawrence, though.
Let's
even
go
the positive
around.
People.
Let's go around the round table that we're sitting at right now, the metaphorical one. Biggest frauds on the Giants roster. Biggest frauds on the Giants roster right now.
Biggest fraud, okay.
You thought that they would be a good player, and they've disappointed you the most. And then we'll finish it off maybe with the biggest surprise. Like, who was a guy that, I love you so much and you're willing to fight a war over that player. So,
I know
Weiss,
what Ethan is going to say.
Weiss, I feel like
what am I going to say?
I feel like I know your answer, but go ahead. Whoever wants to go.
I know who Ethan is going to say. Go ahead, Ethan.
For what? Fraud or who I love the most?
He's a fraud. You don't like him.
I'm Leonard Williams.
No. There's another
You're
one.
still on that? Like, not like first three
Get off
games
the Leonard
of the year?
Williams thing.
No. Okay, Weiss, who am I thinking of?
It's a certain linebacker who's on injured reserve right now.
Yeah.
Oh, your takes on Blake Martinez suck. I'm sorry.
You suck.
They would be like last year. Teams attacked us, like moved, like we talked about the bend don't break defense. Like that was the mindset last year because we had a bad cornerback too, and like average, below average nickel cornerback play. Now it's that because we can't stop the run at all. Like we have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL.
This is one of the moments where like your football acumen is obviously superior to mine, but I don't give a fuck because Blake Martinez is a fraud. He just collects Pokemon cards and he sits on Twitter and he complains that he wasn't voted to the Pro Bowl because he's a loser and he wasn't that good in Green Bay. And you know what? The Giants defense has been okay the last few weeks without him. I hope he can just go cry on Twitter, collect his checks and count his Pokemon cards because he's a loser and I don't like him.
Am I listening to Snacks right now? Who is
Snacks
this?
and I are on the exact same page when it comes to Blake Martinez.
All
He's
right.
a fraud, he's a loser. Go count your Pokemon cards.
That's a take.
Loser.
That's a
loser.
take.
I don't agree with him, by the way. I actually do like Blake Martinez. I do think he's a little bit overrated, considering he's probably one of the best linebackers the Giants have had.
He's the best linebacker I've seen play for the Giants, and while I could like form thoughts, better than Antonio Pierce.
That is not saying much, but Blake Martinez is good.
I think Dexter Lawrence is a huge fraud.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just think he's a huge fraud. I think he was portrayed as this great, nose tackle, defensive end, whatever the hell. I call him a defensive lineman, whatever. 3 tech. He can rush the passer. First of all, no, he can't. Dexter Lawrence cannot rush the passer. He's a 2-down player. Call it what you see it. I think the anger that Leonard Williams gets shouldn't be directed at Leonard Williams. It should be directed at Dexter Lawrence.
I agree with that.
Because I think a lot of Dexter Lawrence's success is due to the fact that he plays against a real pass rushing defensive lineman.
Plays next to,
a real pass rushing defensive lineman in Leonard Williams. Now, the Leonard Williams situation is a completely separate situation because of the trade and all that. But Dexter Lawrence, to me, first round pick, number 17 overall, like, I'm sorry, I don't see the hype. I don't. He plays. Go ahead. Ask me a question.
I'm bad at that. It's just I get
no.
thoughts
Go ahead.
in my head.
Go ahead.
So Dex might be. He's got a baseline of a decent player, but I hate like every year. Giants fans and just it's like this guy Lorenzo Carter is going to break out. O'Shane Zimenez is going to break out. Next year it's going to be Quincy Roche is going to turn into a dominant edge, and he's just going to be an all right player. And I think that every year we put unfair expectations. But Dexter Lawrence.
Oh wow! Live on the podcast. Odell Beckham Jr. is finalizing a deal with the Los Angeles Rams.
See, I'm not believing that because I do that to Justin all the time. And I'm going to make sure.
No, it's Adam Schefter. 20
right
seconds
there,
ago.
the verified.
Wow.
Well, he's not going to get as many targets as he wants, but he's going to play for a winner.
Hey, he just wants to win. Baby.
That is the one team though that I think he might be the best receiver. Like the Chiefs. The Saints with I guess Michael Thomas isn't playing, but Michael Thomas is better than him.
Cooper
the
Kupp?
Packers, the Rams, like they, Cooper Kupp is. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. But he's going to the Super Bowl favorite, so
yeah.
If as long as he doesn't, I think, and
they're not gonna win now.
I had a great Dexter Lawrence point, but I'm gonna get back to it, and because I obviously don't like Odell, but I also admit Odell going to a team like the Rams will help. You will help, but it's just I would never invest in Odell long term at this point of his career. Like when I say long term, I mean even like a 3-year deal.
Well, what the Rams are going to do is they're actually going to trade him for a draft pick, and that'll be the first draft pick they have in like 10 years.
Yeah. See, like Antonio Brown, if as the Giants would I sign Antonio Brown? No, but as the Bucks, I would. And Antonio Brown's personality, just as a human. I don't even think Odell's a bad person. I think he's just a bad teammate.
I just think he's stupid at this point.
I think the difference. I think Odell's smart, and I think he plays people. I think he's very manipulative. But anyways, let's get back to Dexter Lawrence.
Yes.
But I actually thought Dex was going to break out this year, and he hasn't. And he has a baseline of a decent to good player, and at that position, being drafted 17th, that kind of sucks.
Yep. Especially when the Giants have a very rich history in recent times of drafting exactly those types of players, but probably better in the second round.
See, because I was like, maybe this guy can, be Fletcher Cox, and because again, his first year 1 and year 2, he's a good player, but he wasn't great. And this year, if there was one player, it's like I think he's going to be great and be on a lot more people's radar right now. It's going to be Dex, because you do like the film guys around the league who aren't just Giants. Like when they talk with the Giants defense, they'll bring up Dex. Like, this guy doesn't so he's a good player, but I thought he was going to take a step forward, and he absolutely has not. He's essentially just the same player as been the first 2 seasons.
Yep, I would agree with that.
All right, who's a player you'll fight a war over, and in terms of you will defend them?
Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas was my guy too. I've got a lot of heat because I had him over the other 3, and we did a redraft last year, and I was like, I'm still going with Andrew Thomas. Now maybe I should have went with Wirfs, but it's like I would rather take Andrew Thomas over Becton and Wills every day of the week. Worse.
Yeah. Can I say something right now? If there was an expansion team and I was only allowed to protect one player, it would be Andrew Thomas.
I agree 100%. 100%.
If there's one player right now that I would make the highest paid player at their position on the Giants, it would be Andrew Thomas. Not Daniel Jones, not Saquon Barkley, not any of the receivers, not any of the corners or linebackers. No, Andrew Thomas. He's a cornerstone player for the New York Giants. Like we talk about cornerstone players and we like to throw all these people into there. Andrew Thomas is a cornerstone player for the Giants.
And we talk about Daniel Jones elevating and stuff like that. Like that Panthers game, they had nobody. That was the one game where Jason Garrett actually did step up. But he had nobody, like no wide receivers, no offensive line. If I would rather go with Darius Slayton, Cullen Johnson, and Dante Pettis as my wide receivers with Andrew Thomas than with what we have right now and Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, and Sterling Shepard every single day of the week. I've seen Daniel Jones when he had a good left tackle ball out. I've seen him with good wide receivers and not a good left tackle not ball out, and that's kind of where I stand on that.
I mean, Andrew Thomas has had 4 different offensive line coaches in the past.
And he's played next to 50 different left guards.
Yeah.
Ben Wilkerson's going to be with every coaching staff. Ben Wilkerson is like the most unknown legacy hire right now. He's been through a bunch of coaching staffs.
Tom Quinn, our friend Tom Quinn too.
See, I don't care about special teams at all, so it's like Tom Quinn doesn't even move the needle for me.
Yeah.
We all love Kadarius Toney, though.
Hold on. I need to hear something that Ethan finds joy in his life, and in terms of the Giants. So Ethan,
there's not much. I mean, I'll take a different angle at answering your question and go with Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
Just because, like, drafted a Giant, like, fights his fucking ass off every week. Numerous concussions, still shows up and wants to play every week. Like he's in, like, I know this is a Nick Gates podcast. Like Sterling Shepard is in that type of level for me.
Yeah.
Whether or not I think they should or shouldn't have traded him, or like what his contract situation is with his health and everything like that. But like in terms of guys who like you want to go to war with every Sunday, it's like Nick Gates and then Sterling Shepard.
I love it.
What do we think about Kadarius? I love Kadarius Toney's media set. See, that's something 4 or 5 years ago I would never watch the media sessions. Now it's like it's Joker Fridays.
Can I say something about?
They're starting to edit him too. I'm so sick of the Giants PR. I really do. I'm getting bothered by the Giants PR.
I think there's a lot of empty opinions out there with Kadarius Toney about people they just want to compare. Like I wish people would just come out and compare him to Odell instead of writing these snarky comments about how he's immature. I understand what he said about Aaron. I actually agree wholeheartedly with what Joe Judge said about Kadarius Toney's tweet about Henry Ruggs. I understand what Kadarius Toney's trying to say. He just used the wrong words. Like it's a sad situation. You feel bad for everybody. Obviously, you're not sitting here saying that Henry Ruggs deserves to be a free man, but you understand what he's trying to say. Like it's a 22-year-old that his whole life in front of him, he committed a stupid decision and it cost him. That's sad. That doesn't mean that he thinks that he doesn't deserve to face punishment. It's just a sad situation. And I think that's what Toney was trying to say. And
I think Toney gets compared to Odell because, wide receiver,
obviously,
I think they're very different. There's similarities, but they're very different. Where, like I said, I think Odell's really smart. I think he's as a bad teammate, and I know you guys disagree, and I keep on saying it and cutting you off before you can dispute me.
No, that's just Bobby. That's just smart. That's smart.
And Toney may become an issue. Like I right now he hasn't been one, but like if end of year 3 with Toney, and it's like I'm like, this guy is a bad team. Like, I won't be surprised, but I'm not going to go there until it happens.
Has he done anything wrong this year?
Missing the OTAs was stupid on him. Not, okay. that, but that's at the end of the day. Like, if that's your biggest thing, that's, but at this point, like, missing OTAs is the dumbest thing he's done. Like, he got COVID, like, you can't get, like, hundreds of thousands of people have gotten it. I'm not shaming them.
We don't COVID shame, Bobby.
Exactly.
We don't COVID shame.
And then the cleat stuff, like, that's weird.
What was the cleat stuff?
The rookie camp, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See, the thing that a lot of people would say is like his like of the media, but that's the things we love. Like, media some clowns is the greatest line we've gotten from a Giants player in forever.
100%.
Like, I don't buy.
Amazing.
We make shirts. I'll be honest, I don't buy a lot just because I'm not a big t-shirt design guy. I bought the media some clowns one. Like, that is my favorite one of all time. And just him laughing at the media. They're starting to edit them out. The Giants.com pisses me off, but he just laughs at the media, and like, I think that's because beat reporters are the corniest people on earth, and Tony is the opposite of that. And he just like looks at him. He's like,
he's also brutally honest. Like, he'll tell you to your face.
Yeah.
What are you doing this weekend? I'm not going to tell you because I don't tell my personal business.
It's like
that. Like, that's brutally honest. Like, I understand.
Do you watch football? Nah.
Oh, he's fun. I love Tony. All right. Anything else we want to get off our chest before we roll?
You know what, Bobby Skinner? There is one more thing that we need to talk about before we wrap up, and that is Manscaped. So everyone, brace yourselves. Winter is coming. What the writers of Game of Thrones didn't tell you is that Bran was actually in a wheelchair because he didn't trim his balls with Manscaped. That really sucks for Bran. Don't really know who you are, but that really sucks for Bran that you wound up in a wheelchair because you didn't trim your ball hair. Sucks. Poor guy thought it was okay to trim his balls with a traditional razor or hair trimmer. Sucks to suck. Not sure what you want as a gift for the holidays? Well, Manscaped is the ultimate gift, and they're here to change the men's grooming game, and you can get 20% off plus free shipping if you use the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. We already know about the Lawnmower 4.0. Waterproof, advanced skin-safe technology. It's going to reduce nicks and cuts, keep you out of wheelchairs, I guess. If you're going to nip your balls, if you're going to cut your balls, then guess what? You may be out of commission for a little bit. Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof, advanced skin-safe technology. It's going to keep you walking up and right. The Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer. I have that issue. I've already used it. It's worked for me. And maybe you got smelly feet, and Manscaped can help with the foot duster. Foot deodorant made to fight odors of the dirtiest feet. Manscaped has kind of got you covered. If your balls are smelly, they got stuff for that. If your balls are getting hairy, they got stuff for that. Body wash, shampoo, got stuff for that. Your feet smell? Got stuff for that. Manscaped has got you covered. So on top of everything, they've even thrown the Shed Travel Bag with the Performance Package 4.0 to carry your goods. With all those things to keep your body looking fresh and smelling fresh, you got to have the Shed Travel Bag to carry your goods. And I want you to get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. During the winter, you may be spending more time inside with your balls. You might as well keep them beautiful. So again, 20% off plus free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. Thank you to Manscaped.
Can I ask you guys a question about Saquon Barkley?
Go for it.
If he comes back and plays well, what is your mindset about him going into year 4?
Trade.
Trade.
If his value is at an all-time high, unload.
Trade. I would trade him. I just don't think it's going to happen. So it's like
I agree because they got to sell tickets somehow.
I also am not in like the running backs don't matter crowd. I agree with a lot of other things, but I also it's like Saquon does make a difference.
Running backs don't matter is an oversimplification, a very succinct way of saying what the actual point is.
Yeah, I get that, but it's like Saquon does do things that other running backs can't. Now this
year,
of
course,
like he
it's
does,
just the value proposition.
He does add wins, but it's like the fact that we didn't prioritize offense. And I wouldn't ever draft a running back in the first round, really. Unless it's like a Saquon at the end of round 1 type.
Exactly. That's the only
I would take a running back in the first round. I would take him in the top 10. But you have to be a team that's in position to take a running back.
But we've had this argument before. That's an oxymoron. Like if you're a team that's in position to take a running back, you're not picking in the top 10, barring some crazy trade.
Well, like the Colts.
No.
At that 2018, they were in that spot.
But even then, they're an example of like, hey, we got it. Taylor in the second round, Mac, like, you know.
Yeah.
I'm fully
and
on
they didn't have a
trade
quarterback.
Saquon.
Yeah.
I do when I root for Saquon when he's out there because he does help the team when he's out there. Even though his dancing has always been an issue, it seems to be more so this year. Even though I did burn down Twitter the other day with like a Saquon takes this to the house tweet from the Talking Giants account, and I knew it would happen because I think it's gone so far to where it's like Saquon knows how to run in through a wide open hole. Like Saquon would have balled versus the Raiders. Do I think he balled week 1 through 8?
No.
Healthy? No. He'd have a big play here and there, but I don't think he would have balled. The Raiders game he would have balled. Like that, their run defense was so bad that Nate Solder was moving guys off the ball.
Yeah.
But
the only problem
I'm fully on trade Saquon.
The only problem is with Weiss with your question. I mean, that's a huge if. I mean, if Saquon Barkley comes back and he plays well, that's a huge if right now because we saw. It took him a few weeks. It's taken him a few weeks with his 2 past injuries.
Right.
One was being major, and then one's a high ankle sprain, which is a pretty good injury to get during the regular season. The excuse has been, but he needs a few weeks to ramp back up. Well, it's like, well, what are we doing? We need to stop with the excuses.
And we can't run block either for the rest of the season. Like the Raiders game is an outlier.
Number 1, we can't run block, and number 2, it's when Saquon Barkley gets ramped back up. The Saints game, he had a better game. He was getting ramped back up. What the next week? The next week he gets hurt. So
and the Saints game wasn't even that great either.
No, I mean that the touchdown was
first
big.
half was really bad.
The touchdown was big, and he caught a wide open ball.
Right.
Took it over according to Carl Banks.
Yeah, took over the game. He did. Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, the Giants are in the hunt for the playoffs in the 7th spot. I understand people don't want to have that conversation, but they're in the hunt.
We're not.
So I'm just saying, you don't need to like it, but they're in the hunt. They're 2 games back. You know what I mean? So
if we're 1 game back with like 5 weeks left, I might get into that. But it's like, yeah, they have a bunch of winnable games.
Well, they
what
might
the
be
Giants
1 game
haven't
back
done
next week
in the past 4 years? Win winnable games. They lost to the Falcons this year. Even though the Falcons have kind of turned it around, but like they should have done. They should have. That was the one game this year where it's like you look at both rosters, like Giants, you need to go in there and win that game. And they lost.
The Falcons
which
are bad.
I think is the most discontent the fan base has been. By the way, was after it was kind of beautiful how everyone was like the burn down MetLife jokes were borderline not a joke. At that point,
Road to
which
9
Ethan
and 8.
used to have burned down MetLife before me.
I was burned down MetLife before the fucking building was finished.
Yeah, so it's like I just kind of like ran with it. And
it looks like a prison toilet. Like it's. The
I almost have
ugliest
been rooting
stadium.
for them to like send me a letter or like arrest me. It's like you realize this is just playing into my head. If I have a mugshot for saying I'm going to burn down MetLife, like the fan base is going to get way more behind me for that.
Oh yeah.
Road to 9 and 8.
So your hand, Dion Dargan. It's in your court, Dion Dargan. We appreciate you guys. Go give these guys a follow at Ethan GSN NYG Daily, even though he has more followers than anyone who does Giant. Do you have more followers than everyone?
He does.
Like beat reporter. Like I know you do. Like, but do you have more followers than all the beat reporters?
He does have more than Jordan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, then you definitely do.
You guys find out for me. I don't like to gloat about followers.
Mr. Big, we call him around here. And then go listen to the rest of this conversation talking about Dave Gettleman, the coaching situation, on their podcast, NYG Weekly. You find it Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff.
All the good stuff, yeah.
Basically everywhere you find ours except for YouTube.
Exactly.
So
before we go, can I ask you one more question, Bobby?
Let's go.
Are you gonna grow your hair back out?
No, I'm done with it. Now every time I say that, I grow it back out, but I'm just over it. Like it really is a pain in the ass to deal with. And again, it just sucks. Like you can't roll down your passenger window. Like that sucks.
Good point. Things you don't think about.
Like I remember, being in the car with my ex, and she's like, "Don't roll the windows down." Like, why? It's a beautiful day out, and it's like, well, now I know why. It's like, get over it. Your hair's flying around. Big deal. Now I'm like, that's the most annoying thing in the entire world. All right, so we appreciate you guys. We'll be back on Friday for our Bucks preview, which I'm going to the game, going down to Tampa.
Let's go.
God bless you.
And then I'll see you guys in Philly, hopefully.
Maybe.
Appreciate you guys. See you on Friday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.